Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I have the honor of introducing the inaugural featured match of the Fall 2016 season of Sam Mann's Black Crusade, his online Conquest LCG competitive league. At the bottom of our screen we've got Nazdreg, played by Eric Keilback, a player whom in the previous season or 2 seasons ago managed to go undefeated in Swiss, and up top playing as Nahumekh, one of our initial 2 Necrons faction warlords, we have Kevin Warrender or Kevin Warrender. So assessing our players' opening hands here, they're both currently figuring out whether or not they want to take a mulligan. Eric is going to be our first player of the Orks faction. This is one of the really only Death World cycle matches I've done, and it looks like we've got a slew of new cards here. So Eric is playing a rather elite-centric Nazdreg deck. He decides to keep his opening hand. He's got a classic shoot-em-mob, rogue trader for early economy. In regard to his heavy hitters, he's got one of his signature army units, the Nazdreg's Flash Gits, which can attack twice. He's got a backlash to protect his big shoot a battle wagon, which is going to be eager to spill snotlings onto our table here. And he's got a new unit, the Commando Sneakas, so a 3-cost ambush unit. And you can ready an orc, deal it a point of damage. Works great with Nazdreg's brutal keyword. It looks like our opening deploy action is going to be a signature army unit the Flash Gits at our first planet here, Barless, the forced random card discard planet. The first 4 planets all have green strong point type icons, and looks like Nahumekh, Kevin, has dropped off an STC fragment. So this is his one limited play for the round. The Flash Gits pick up a copy of Cyborg Body, so they're now sitting at an incredible 8 HP, which again, with Nazdreg is ridiculous. STC fragment decreases the cost of elites. Looks like Nahumekh is making use of his enslavement dial being set to Space Marines. He drops a Fire Drake Terminators here at planet number 2. So it's a 3/6. It deals damage to whatever assails it. Shoot 'em mob at planet number 5, played by Eric. And in regard to opening hand here, we've got a couple of copies of Shroud Cruiser for the Necrons, so he can exhaust that support to move elites to adjacent planets. Looks like we're going to see one of those enter into play. And right now, that's already 2 supports for Nahumekh. So it looks like Eric is going to be able to win planet number 1 entirely uncontested. Planet number 2, which is a planet where Nahumekh is naturally going to be possessing initiative. He'll be set up to win that pretty easily with his Fire Drake Terminators. And if he's unopposed, then as an action, like, he could send his Warlord to planet number 2 the following round and then continually shift the Fire Drake Terminators down 1 planet as is necessary. But the Flash Gits, if they show up at a planet the following round alongside Nazdreg, Eric's free to use that combat action to deal them a point of damage, ready them, then they can attack, and they've got a lot of hit points, and of course they've got brutal as well. So Nahumekh is going to be showing up at planet number 5. That's his command phase destination there. Nazdreg instead goes to planet number 3 to protect his rogue trader. Currently it's going to be 4 units controlled by Eric versus the 2 of Nahumekh. Kevin gets 2 cards, 2 resources, relative to Eric's 3 cards and 2 resources. Eric got a copy of Ammo Depot. He's got another copy of the Commando Sneakas. He's got 3 resources, which is sufficient to play that unit, and do bear in mind that can ready his Warlord as well. So he's still got that copy of Backlash, no STC fragment for him. And then on the, let's see here, as we transition into combat, that's that copy of Shoot 'em Mob destroyed by Nahumek's ability. Currently, he controls 1 enslaved non-Necron faction among units he controls. That was -1 HP to that Shoot 'em Mob. We're going to be seeing battles at planets 1, 3, and 5. This is going to be a forced random card discard here. And let's see here. I'll just say no need, keep going. So anyways, planet number 1, we're going to see a forced card randomly discarded from Kevin's hand. So what exactly is he going to lose? He's got a copy of his signature army unit, the signature event. He loses a copy of Mind Shackle Scarab, which traditionally you attach to a non-elite. And you gain control of it, so that may have been handy to wrest control of the flash gets from Eric, but unfortunately for him, that is no longer a case. And for better or worse, Mindshackle Scarab has to match your enslaved faction. So, for instance, we see a copy of Vashya Trailblazer here. That would kind of have to, like, the following round, if we were to see that Mindshackle Scarab, it would have to be our Necron player picking Orks instead of Tau, so you can only play one of those. He does still have a copy of Hate, so if he enslaves Orks, he could pay 3 to remove this copy of Nazdreg's Flash Gits from the game. Dustin Drake, the acclaimed Dark Eldar player, has joined our match as a spectator here, and now we see this Shroud Cruiser move the Fire Drake Terminators from 2 to 3, and it looks like Nazdreg retreats from this planet, so this is going to be a total of 2 units versus 2 units, as the Fire Drake Terminators are necessarily going to destroy this Rogue Trader. That means Taurus is no longer eligible to be activated by, well, I guess the battle ability is simply going to fizzle. It's not going to be activated by Kevin here. So planet number 1 is potentially up for grabs by Eric. That would be a second strong point icon, and then if he manages to win planet number 3, that'll be the game for him. Or if he wins the strong point icon associated with planet number 4, that could be the game as well. But obviously, Shroud Cruiser can move the Terminators from planets 2 to 1 if need be. So Nahumekh there at planet number 5 is going to have the opportunity to trigger Eloith, so he can peruse the top 3 cards of his deck for any one card he would like. There's no Commando Sneakas to be put into play. Interestingly enough, I guess you could have ambushed one of these into play, attacked Nahumekh for, 2, and then maybe ambushed another copy into play, readied the original copy, and that would have been a significant amount of damage going out to our Necron here. Not a lot of shield cards in Nahumek's hand, and also bear in mind that Hate is a deploy action, so Eloith resulted in a copy of Doomsday Arc being added to Kevin's hand. We've gone through an HQ phase, so that's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. New first planet is Ossus 4, the resource stealing planet, and new planet number 5 is going to be Aatrox Prime, the bombardment planet. So for Eric, he's got no STC fragment, but he got another battle wagon, he got another copy of Brutal Cunning. Kevin's enslaved faction is going to be Tau this time. The Tau Conquerors apparently have not seen this functionality in Octagon before. Anyways, Eric's got a copy of Brutal Cunning to shift damage from his Orks to non-elite army units. Kevin got another STC fragment and a Void Pirate as well. So playing a rather elite-heavy version of Necrons here, we've got a Doomsday Arc at planet number 1 played for a modified cost of 4. It's currently area effect 1, but if we see a Vashya Trailblazer, it's going to be bouncing up to area effect 2, and Nahumek's ability is going to siphon, or, well, not siphon, anyways, it's going to, like, decrease units HP by 2, at least a target army unit. And of course, Backlash can be used to cancel Nahumek's ability, but it's not going to destroy Nahumekh. Important for balance reasons there. So Shroud Cruiser as an action can easily shift the location of either one of these units. Looks like Kevin's got a nice couple command icons at either planet. Nazdreg is going to be showing up, bringing his flash gits with him. They can ready, then they'll be attacking for 3, and they've totally got a pool, they've currently got a total pool of 8 hit points. So Vashya Trailblazer splashes down to planet number 4, potentially reeling in 2 cards for our Necron, and they've got mobile, so they can shift away from that planet just in case they need to avoid being destroyed. Planet number 1, Big Shoot a Battle Wagon, enters play dry cast for a total of 6. It's a 4/4 with just 1 command icon, which means it is not currently winning command. When it is destroyed, it'll result in 4 Snotlings tokens, but the Doomsday Arc is a 5/5, and of course, if the Doomsday Arc is allowed to use Area Effect 2, that'll make very quick work of that Big Shoot a Battle Wagon. There's no Backlash to protect Kevin's units, but it's not as if our Orc player exactly has, there's no Archon's Terror, there's nothing along those lines. Really, the best thing he can hope for is this Brutal Cunning, but the Doomsday Ark is an elite, and therefore it's not eligible to be the recipient of damage from Brutal Cunning here. So things are not looking great for Eric. He's got an ammo depot in play with which to draw additional cards, but he's a bit stuck when it comes to just what exactly he wants to do. He could do a copy of Promotion on the Big Shoot a Battle Wagon to boost it up to 3 command icons. It's a skill, so it could, yep, there we go. That's going to be a promotion on the Big Shoot a Battle Wagon, but we've now got a copy of Void Pirate sitting at planet number 5, and of course, if Nazdreg does decide to send himself to that planet, he's going to be dropping off his flash gets well outside of, a victory condition relevant planet for his opponent. We've got a copy of Promotion on this Doomsday Ark here, so that's 2 rounds, 2 limited keyword cards. Everything seems kosher there. Kevin has passed, Eric has passed. Both players are going to be deciding where exactly they want to send their respective warlords, and what exactly are we going to be seeing here. Kevin has made his decision, and, or at least, yeah, both of our players have made their decision. So what are we going to be seeing? Planet number 1 for Nahumekh, which means that Shroud Cruiser can, on a as-necessary basis, move the Doomsday Ark potentially to planet number 2. But let's see what happens here with the Big Shoot a Battle Wagon. So Nahumekh is going to be able to decrease the hit points of the Battle Wagon by 2 unless we see Backlash come into play. This is going to be 3 planets worth of command won by Kevin, and looks like he is doing absolutely superb. So a total of 4 cards and 3 resources relative to the paltry 1 resource and 1 card by my friend Eric here. So Kevin comes across a couple copies of Squiggoth Brute, a new powerful Orc elite that I'm sure makes probably a triple appearance in Eric's deck. Eric got a copy of Daka, and these Squiggoth Brutes, under the decrease or influence of STC fragment for the cost of 4. They're a 5/9 brutal creature elite, and when the combat phase begins, each enemy army unit, not friendly army units, but just enemies, they lose all keywords until the end of the phase, which will knock out brutal. So it's an absolutely stellar ability here. But Nahumekh controls 2 different factions worth of units. That's going to be the Big Shoot a Battle Wagon being decreased to 2 HP unless Eric does decide to use his copy of Backlash. Does not seem as though that is going to be the case. So this is currently a 4/2, and it's going to be I guess our Necron player with initiative, so we could see Nahumekh take a swing, finish off the Battle Wagon, and then 4 Snotlings are going to interplay, and then we might see the Doomsday Ark use Area Effect 2 after one of the Snotlings gets off an attack. So things are looking pretty grim for poor Eric here, and let's see what exactly is going to be occurring here. One of the earliest seasons of the Black Crusade, I'll just go ahead and say, don't worry about it. Anyways, one of the earliest seasons of either the Octagon Wa, what the Black Crusade was called before it became, originally the Black Crusade was called the Wa. Kevin was one of my first matches, so it's very interesting to see how he has grown as a player, and of course how my channel has grown in time. But anyways, Big Shoot a Battle Wagon is currently a 4/2. It's going to be Nahumek's opportunity to attack. Is he going to be attacking with his Warlord and risking Eric using a 1 or more value shield card to preserve the fragile chassis of his his kind of weakened battle wagon here. Basically, Nahumekh can attack with the Doomsday Ark for a guaranteed kill, or he can take a risk attacking with Nahumekh. And what is at stake here is receiving an attack valued at 4. Looks like it's going to be that Doomsday Ark, so I suppose the Necron player really didn't want to take that risk. Now there are 4 Snotlings in play, and that Doomsday Ark with its Area Effect 2 is exhausted, so a Snotling token is going to be attacking that Doomsday Ark. Unfortunately, Brutal Cunning here isn't going to be able to work with the Snotlings tokens, not that they have more than 1 HP in the first place, but the Doomsday Ark is currently going to be taking a successful point of damage. In regard to shields, it looks like our Necron player has only got a 1 value shield card in hand, and if the Doomsday Ark is looking as though it's about to be destroyed, it can opportunistically shift locations to planet number 2 to harass Nazdreg, and this copy of the Flash gets here. So Nahumekh delivers an attack toward this Snotling token. We see Daka discarded as Dan Napolitano joins the game as another spectator. Gentlemen I had the opportunity to meet in person at my regional championship. Both of these Snotlings tokens have by now delivered attacks toward that Doomsday Ark. It's potentially going to be sitting at a total of 3 points of damage. Unfortunately, a single area effect volley is now guaranteed to outright obliterate all these Snotlings tokens unless they retreat at the end of the combat round, which there's not really any good reason for them not to. So looks like Kevin announces 1 sec. Perhaps he's gone AFK for a moment, but at present, it's going to be Eric's combat turn. He's still got 2 readied Snotlings. He can deliver a couple of additional attacks to the Doomsday Ark. He can wound it, but he can't kill it. Then what we could see is, come the end of the combat round, perhaps Eric retreats all of his units. The Doomsday Ark will be readied, and then it might be able to shift itself over to planet number 2. But I think the reason that Eric is trying to deal as much damage as possible to it, note that it's currently at 4 HP worth of damage, is so that if Shroud Cruiser does move it to planet number 2, that way Nazdreg, because he only has to go up against this 1 value shield card, is going to be guaranteed to kill it. So, into the combat round, those Snotlings tokens all decide to retreat. Unlike old Zogwart, they're not outright destroyed, so Ossus 4 is going to be triggering here. -1 resource for Eric, +1 resource for Kevin. The Doomsday Ark is not relocated to planet number 2, so therefore this Fire Drake Terminators, immediately prior to it being destroyed, it could shift away from that planet to planet number 3, whatever happens to work for our Necron player. So we're going to see a battle here at planet number 2. It's going to be Nazdreg's opportunity to attack first. Is Nazdreg as a warlord going to be attacking and taking a point of damage from this reaction, or instead are we going to be seeing the Flash Gits deal themselves a point of damage so that they can attack for 3? Nazdreg delivers an attack valued at 2. He takes a point of damage in return, and now it's going to be up to the Fire Drake Terminators here. Note that Eric does not have an adequate number of resources with which to drop the Commando Sneakas into play. The Fire Drake Terminators are going to be swinging at Nazdreg. Backlash is going to be discarded, so Nazdreg has 4 HP remaining. Note that there's no Iridial on the tabletop. Our Tricon planet here is Yvarn, which puts units into play. Nazdreg's Flash Gits are going to have an opportunity here to swing for 3, is what I would be saying if it were not for the Fire Drake Terminators being shifted away from that planet to 3. So Taurus is going to be won by Eric, but he's not actually going to be able to trigger that ability. So both of our players currently are sitting on 1 green strong point type icon, and that is going to be the round, ladies and gentlemen. So HQ phase is about to occur. That is 2 cards, 4 resources for either player. And let's see what exactly they come across. I think that our Necron is going to be heavily advantaged in that he's got access to these Squiggoth Brutes here. So Eric did happen to get a copy of Squiggoth Brute of his own, but he doesn't have an adequate number of resources with which to drop it into play. He does put another copy of Ammo Depot out onto the tabletop, but clearly he's being choked for resources. He's only got 1 army unit in play. He could drop a Commando Sneakas out, but a 2-3 with no command icons about sucks. He doesn't have enough for either of his elites, and now things are going to go increasingly poorly for Eric, is what my heart tells me. So we've currently got initiative in the possession of our Orc. Fighting Walloon has now joined the game as a spectator. Squiggoth Brute is now chilling at planet number 1. It is a 5/9. It's got Brutal, so if Eric attacks with his Flash Gits, he could deal 3 points of damage. well, first of all, it doesn't have intrinsic printed brutal, so maybe it attacks for 2, and then the Squiggoth Brute attacks for 7, and unless Eric shields it, and right now he's only got the 1 shield card, 7 plus 1 is going to be 8, and even with the cyborg body, that's still going to be a dead unit there. So Kevin has exhausted his STC fragment, but he's still got 4 resources. He's got a copy of Venomous Fiend in hand. That's a new Chaos Elite. He controls a non-Chaos faction warlord, so it's going to be a 2/3/5 with mobile, and when it moves, whether it's committed to a planet, ouch, that about sucks. So the enslavement tile indicates Orc. Hate is going to be played. That's the first time I've seen Hate played, and that is going to be a destroyed copy of Nazdreg's Flash Gits. I cannot help but feel like Eric may as well be throwing out the white flag here pretty shortly, because planet number 1 is looking like it's going to be all but insurmountable. If Nazdreg shows up at that planet, he's going to get bloodied in very short order, and unfortunately, even this, I don't know, quartet of snotlings, they're not going to be able to overcome this Squiggoth Brute here. At least I don't think. They could all, let's say, Nazdreg shows up, the Brute bloodies Nazdreg after Nazdreg deals it a couple of points of damage, perhaps. Shielding, of course, could come into play. We could see the Shroud Cruiser move the Fire Drake Terminators from 2 to 1, and those Terminators are really adept and proficient at ruining Snotlings tokens. So at planet number 1, we've now got a copy of Void Pirate, and it looks like the fall 2016 season of the Black Crusade is off to a poor start for Eric here, but Kevin is really showing off a spectacular Nahumekh deck, and I've got to say it's very refreshing to see Nahumekh performing well. Everybody kind of shat all over the poor mechanical fellow when he was first unveiled, and gotta say it's nice seeing him put in some work here. So both of our players are currently deciding where exactly they want to send their warlords. Our new planet number 5 is Iridial, the healing planet, and planet number 1 is Taurus. Yeah, so that's the unit count planet. Nahumekh is going to be dropping down to planet number 2, which is his earliest possible victory condition planet. And curiously, Nazdreg is going to be showing up at planet number 3 just to win some additional cards. And interesting that he would choose that planet just because he's already got a couple of copies of Ammo Depot in play. I would almost think that he'd have rather gone to, say, 4 just so he could have shut off the Void Pirate or something if he's going to go outside of his victory condition. But Kevin, great economic showing, 4 additional cards, 3 additional resources. Whiteblade gets 2 additional cards, but cards are not the problem for Whiteblade in this game. Planet number 1 is going to be handily captured by Kevin, and it's going to take an absolute goddamn miracle for Eric to end up winning this one, because this Squiggoth Brute is going to be able to be relocated away from planet number 1 to planet number 2, courtesy of the Shroud Cruiser here, and then this little Void Pirate is going to be able to win that planet uncontested unless we see a Commando Sneakas being dropped into play. So I suppose we'll have to see how actions go, but in regard to, combat, I suppose what are we going to be seeing for actions? Is our Necron player going to be, like, if he is conservative and he uses that Shroud Cruiser, that's going to be Eric's opportunity to steal Taurus away. And it looks like we do not see the Shroud Cruiser, so no actions for Eric, and therefore I cannot help but feel like Kevin has managed to seal Eric's fate. He's not using Shroud Cruiser to move away that Squiggoth Brute, and therefore that's going to be a second green icon added to his victory display. And thanks to the STC fragment, that's going to be another copy of a 4-resource Squiggoth Brute played to this planet. Nahumekh is going to be able to drop off his Squiggoth Brute, and things are just going to be looking increasingly terrible for poor Eric here. But I guess interestingly enough, Yvonne is going to be triggered by Nahumekh. He won that battle entirely unopposed. That will be Big Shoot a Battle Wagon and Squiggoth Brute being put into play. And I guess maybe Kevin is going to be using his STC fragment next round to do another copy of Fire Drake Terminators. So there we see Shroud Cruiser used. It's going to be moving the Fire Drake Terminators to planet number 3, and it's going to be opposite a bunch of Snotlings tokens, which are going to be requiring shields so that they can hope to do any damage whatsoever to this copy of Fire Drake Terminators, because that reaction is, of course, after it's declared as a defender, not after resolving its attack. So Nazdreg is going to be taking a swing at the Terminators here. If he can manage to deal a couple of damage, that's going to be great. Unfortunately, for his sake, it's only going to be 1 point of damage dealt to the Terminators. Nazdreg himself takes a point of damage thanks to that reaction, and now the Terminators are going to be able to swing in response for 3 at Nazdreg. And Nazdreg has only got 2 1-value shield cards in hand. So what exactly are we going to be seeing here? The Commando Sneakas could be dropped into play. They could deal Nazdreg a point of damage, but then they could attack for a total of 4 against the Fire Drake Terminators, and I'll just be really curious to see what exactly happens, because I think outside of, like, let's say the Terminators swing at Nazdreg, he could be at 1 hit point, but then he's going to be in a really crappy position. So let's say the Terminators attack Nazdreg. Eric discards a 1-value shield card. His Warlord is going to be at just 1 hit point. So Nazdreg is going to be at 1 HP, and if Nazdreg decides to stay, he'll be able to attack with initiative. But he's not going to be able to kill the Fire Drake Terminators, and we're going to have to see another shield card discarded just to prevent the Warlord from being bloodied here. What we also are going to be seeing is if these Commando Sneakas are played, they could ready Nazdreg, but then they deal him a point of damage, and he's only got a single shield card, so it looks like 3 of these Snotlings tokens are going to be, 4 Snotlings tokens are going to be retreating away from the planet, and is Nazdreg perhaps going to be just receiving a bloodying to, I guess, deal a couple of points of damage to the Fire Drake Terminators here? The answer is no. Nazdreg retreats from that planet, and things went from bad to worse for Eric here, so it sucks to see poor Nazdreg never catching a break, continuing to perform rather poorly, totally resource choked, but like I said before, absolutely superb to see Nahumekh kicking all kinds of ass here. So Nahumekh triggers Eloith. He looks at the top 3 cards of his deck. He adds a copy of Backlash to his hand. So if we were to see a copy of Squigify or something along those lines used, provided that says target on the card, Backlash could be used against that. But we go through another HQ phase. That's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players here. We've got a copy of the Staff of Command for our Necron, and that's a 3 shield value card, or it's a deploy stall, but 7 resources and 12 cards for Kevin, 7 resources, 7 cards for Whiteblade, but I don't necessarily think he's got enough to really make a big difference here. Kevin's got initiative. He chose Chaos as his enslaved faction. He's going to drop a Venomous Fiend to planet 2. It's going to be able to use mobile to move to planet number 1, and after it moves, you can deal X damage to it, where X is equal to the number of command icons it possesses. That's probably not going to be a very terribly significant effect, but it looks like Eric calls out the GG right there, so that is his concession. So, good game, well played by both of our players, but a tremendous congratulations to Kevin Warrender for managing to pilot Nahumekh to victory here. He'd have shown up at this final planet with 2 Squiggoth Brutes. He'd have been able to use Shroud Cruiser to move the Fire Drake Terminators over. The Venomous Fiend would have been able to move over. The best thing that Eric maybe could have done is dropped a Squiggoth Brute at that planet. He could have maybe done a copy or two of the Commando Sneakas, but like I said, things just went from bad to terabad for poor Eric. So, again, congratulations to Kevin. Thank you to you, the viewer, for checking out the very first featured match for Sam Mann's Black Crusade, the fall 2016 season of his online Conquest LCG competitive league. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was spectacular seeing both of these warlords. Best of luck to both of our players. I look forward to seeing how they continue to perform throughout the duration of this tournament. It's going to be 6 consecutive weeks of Swiss, then a top elimination, top cut, I believe, to the top 32. I'm going to be doing a featured match each week for the 11 or so weeks of the tournament, so look forward to more to come soon. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share these videos, expose more people to Conquest LCG so we can keep growing this game, hoping to ever expand our community regardless of what may or may not happen for the future of Conquest. It's a hell of a game, and let's all continue to celebrate this spectacularity together. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.